had talent once. Someone threw their shoes at me. I won't tell who.
Like
what?
Like
yeah, they actually threw their shoe at me.
Did it hit
on the
you?
red carpet at the VMAs? Yeah, it hit, yeah, and then I just like picked it up and I was like, okay, you know, and then like texted it to my boss and I was like, I hate my life. At the moment, and I just like it hit me and just fell on the ground. And I'm looking at his shoe on the VMAs red carpet. I'm like, wow, like you rethink everything. I'm like, I have student loans for this.
Brynn, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to chat, and I know the viewers are dying to learn more about your life and your finances. But before we get into that, let's learn a little bit more about this show. Myself and Brynn Whitfield are non-client promoters of SoFi Wealth LLC, and we've both been compensated by SoFi for our time.
And I need to tell you that I'm a registered representative of SoFi Securities LLC and an investment advisor representative of SoFi Wealth LLC. The TLDR, I need to make sure that nothing said misrepresents the truth around investing or personal finance. Welcome to Richer Lives, Brynn.
Thank you for having me.
You are on the Real Housewives of New York season 14?
Season 14,
Amazing, and also a communications and marketing consultant. So before we dive in, we like to start off with a little bit of fun.
Okay.
Yes, so our favorite icebreaker, since you are on a Bravo show, we would love to know if there is anybody in the Bravoverse that you would call to help you get your money right.
Oh, that's a good question. I would call Lisa Vanderpump.
Solid choice. That's
sure.
a boss move.
Good
Yeah,
answer.
that's Lisa Vanderpump for sure. Because she has been always so transparent and honest about her businesses and what her and Ken have built together over the years. I think being a restaurateur owner as well, I think that specific industry, being a restaurateur, what is it, something like 90% of all restaurants fail. Yeah. So I feel like as far as business and money and real estate, it combines all the aspects that kind of like funnel up into something having to do with financial. So I think she would be my first Bravo call for sure.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you can make the restaurant game work. Like
Exactly.
you know your stuff.
And two, she has a sense of humor about it, and she sees everything. It's very, which I think is so important with money and finances. I feel like if I did have a problem, I'd have that like, what to do, and she would, give me good advice, but also just be like, it is what it is. You know, come on, you don't need. It's not something. Money isn't something you necessarily have to stress about. So I think she would definitely convey that and soothe me.
Okay, so for everybody watching who isn't familiar, you are on The Real Housewives of New York.
Yes.
How did that happen? How do I get onto season 20?
You want to get on?
Yeah.
Come. It would be fun. I had just left a couple months prior a tech company that had been acquired. I was like, okay, for the first time in my life, I'm just going to, I've worked since I was 15. I'm going to take a break. And a couple months in, I was in Europe having way too much fun. And I had seen a few DMs of they're like, hi, Brynn, we're reaching out, we're with the Real Housewives of New York casting, and we'd love to talk to you. Yeah. And I like saw it, and I thought it was like, you get like those spam, like crypto. And I was on private, had like 2,000 followers. I was like, this is like a crypto scam or something. Like, like, come on. And so, and then a friend of mine was like, dummy, they're trying to contact you. So I had a couple Zooms with them, and that was it.
Now, like, what were expectations versus reality? You mentioned behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It was crazy. The first day of filming, I remember, the first day of filming, it was just a solo scene by myself, and I was going to my friend's coffee shop in the West Village, and they're like, no, we just want to see an average day, in the village of Brynn in New York. And so I show up to the coffee shop, and there's all of these trucks and lighting and all this, fanfare. And I turned to my producer. I was like, oh my gosh, they're filming CSI. Yeah. Because, they're always in the West Village down there, all the trucks. It's like all the trucks. And she's like, what? I'm like, it's CSI. I wonder who's here. She's like,
you're here.
They're like, these are our trucks.
Yeah.
I had no idea the amount of I thought it was going to be like a dude with a tripod, some it just kind of following us around like documentary style. I didn't know it was grip and audio and lighting and thing. I mean, for me. So I walked up and I was kind of like, this feels really official. And it was a little scary at first. But the funniest thing is you're like, how is this going to work? I'm going to know that cameras are there. I'm going to feel them. I'm going to act differently. I'm going to be like, oh, hi. It's going to be weird. No, the exact opposite. In 5 minutes, you forget those bad boys are there. And that's the problem. You totally forget. You would think we'd be having a different conversation, or I'd be twitching or you totally forget they're there. If anything, sometimes I think then when it's a moment, think of when you're at work and someone kind of goes off the rails on the Zoom or something and you're like, it's happening. That happens then while we're filming. But then because the cameras are there, it's almost like you're a little bit more juiced up, you know? You're like, if I'm gonna yell at scream at someone on the street in New York because they stole my cab, I'm gonna really scream at them because like, it gives you, it's like energizes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Funny.
Being a creator, I know that there are some pretty steep costs, like from hair to makeup to outfits. Were there any unexpected costs of becoming a housewife?
Yes, there were. And here's the thing, I get you know what, people always ask me the most about costs associated with it. They want to know. Is it a requirement for you to have money or to spend? No, not at all. No one puts that pressure. But I always give the example of, you've gone to a wedding, right? Yeah. When you go to a loving friend, with friends like, no, just be yourself. That's literally the network. They're like, no, just be yourself. You don't have to do anything. Don't do anything. And you're like, thank you so much, but like, I'm gonna get a new outfit to come to your wedding, and I want to look my best because I just want to show up and you know, and look good and feel good. So the unexpected costs, I feel like, sure, it's you know, you want to get a new outfit if you're filming an all cast, or you want to wear something special. If, you know, when we had, for example, Bryn's Giving, you do want to buy those things. For me, when I look back, or when my accountant flagged it for me 8 weeks in, he was like, you know, you're spending quite a lot, because it's, take your usual appointments. You get a manicure, you get a pedicure, you get your eyebrows done whenever you remember to. You're doing that more frequently because you are a little bit more self-conscious about being on camera, let's be honest. So you're doing those sorts of things more frequently. And then my accountant was like, it's more so like you took an Uber to get your eyebrows done. There was the tip that you gave, you know, whatever. And then he's like, and every time that you go, even when we're off camera, because we're all hanging out so much, he's like, you know, and I never show up to a house empty-handed. So he's like, you know, you spent $3,000 on bottles of wine, you know, because you're taking a gift every time you go to someone's house. So it's all those expenses that I didn't consider. Or even when I was at the first couple of months when I was spending, I was like, oh, no, I only spent X amount of money. I just bought like 2 new outfits, and I didn't do it. Like, no, the little things add up. But I think that's not even Housewives. Prior to it, little things add up. You have to be very careful. Subscriptions, anything, like you need to be, it's the little things that will get you. When you really break down, you look at your statement. That's why I love when there's like the little chart that shows you your spending and whatnot. But there's no pressure to spend. I feel like it just kind of kicks in a little bit.
It just happens. Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I feel like that because, you know, when everyone around you looks nice, you want to make sure that you look nice too.
Yes. You want to feel good. Look, acquiring things, though, you can acquire all the things in the world and you're still going to feel poor. There are times when I had more money to buy nicer things. I didn't feel the way that I necessarily feel now. I only felt confident when I start saving. When I knew in the back of my mind, regardless if I lost that job, regardless if I got sick or had to go to the hospital or had an accident, I had X behind me. Finally, that's when my heart was able to be at ease. Like, even, you know, it's like there is such a thing as a nest egg. Like, I think a nest egg does give you a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. At what point did you stop feeling anxious about money? Like, how many years into your career? How much did you have saved?
It took forever. It was when I started the business and I realized I could make money on my own, that I wasn't dependent on someone who could take my job away from me or pay me more the next day or pay me less the next day. When I knew that I could on my own make money, get clients, make money, that's when I finally had this feeling that I had since I was little of, oh no, like Chicken Little, like every other day, like, am I gonna end up in an unemployment line? You know, like it took, having my own business. That's sometimes why I think that I end up doing that, because I didn't like having my own business. It's very hard. I'm not like a paperwork girly, you know, like I'm not. It's a lot of stress knowing that a payroll is, you know, is on your shoulders and people's livelihoods are in your hands. I didn't like any of that sort of responsibility, but yeah, I think it was that experience looking back that maybe that is actually maybe subconsciously why I did it, because it afforded me finally this like safe feeling with money.
Your life was in your own hands.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because the money was in my hands. Yeah.
Do you find it like, I know you mentioned like it's so easy in 5 minutes, you totally forget they're there, but like, do you feel like there's a difference between your public and private persona, or is there anything that you're like, oh, I don't talk about this on TV?
No. I thought about it long and hard before I started, and I was like, look, if I'm actually going to do this, it needs to be me. It has to be me. Like, I don't think there's any other way to do it. Yeah. I think it would be exhausting to try to be someone else. And I was like, I just don't want to be stuck having to be something else or being fake. I was like, if this works, I'm just going to be myself. And if it works, then thank God. And if it doesn't, then at least I'm not stuck in something. So I was just completely myself. And it's funny, I've had everyone from kids I went to grade school with DM me, former colleagues at like big CPGs, and they're like, no, that's you. And I was like, no, but I didn't really make like innuendos during meetings. They're like, yeah, you did. They're like, we were all like, whoa, dude. Like, so everyone has consistently said like, that's Brynn, you know? So there's literally no difference.
But I'm so curious, because you were such a power player in the PR and consulting world before getting on Housewives, did it ever occur to you that like there was a little bit of risk doing that? You might not be able to be hired.
100%. I was like, I have created this entire career for myself that I'm so proud of. And what if I just like, I'm not just lighting a match to like my, that I'm not going to be on Bravo and have a successful TV show or unscripted TV show. It was like, I might also not have that happen and then also sabotage what I spent 17 years crying in the bathroom because like my boss yelled at me about a press release. I might be lighting a match to my entire professional career. And especially too, I just gotten out of tech and I wanted to stay in tech. And so I was very, very scared. And then also while filming, because I was still consulting full-time while filming, and I did kind of keep it a secret.
Okay.
And then a couple of the clients I told, they were like, some clients loved it, and then told, the brands that I was working with via them. And other brands were like, oh my God, that's amazing. So we're not gonna like mention that, Because people didn't know how the show would go. We didn't know, people didn't know. It was kind of like a massive toss-up. And there was a lot of skepticism. And for me, it was a very scary time, just not knowing.
Fortunately, it feels like it's kind of played out quite well. Do you think like being on Housewives has helped your career now?
I feel like I think the reverse. I think my background has helped me so much with Housewives. And I think in all the opportunities that come in addition to being on Bravo, and for those things, because again, I was on the opposite side of things. I was redlining contracts. I was doing, pop-ups and events and galas and press and communications and everything. So I was doing all these things. So now being on the other side, being talent, I feel like I have like all this knowledge.
Yeah.
And also, and I just know what it was like on the brand side, working particularly with talent and like, wanting them to love our brand and loving them to want mission and really be behind what we were doing. And so I kind of know like what I wanted. I think forever I'll be like the marketer first and then the talent second. Yeah.
But I bet that makes you really easy to work with. People love you.
Yeah, because it's like, I had talent once, someone threw their shoes at me, I won't tell who.
Like,
what?
Like,
yeah, they actually threw their shoe at me.
Did it hit
on the
you?
red carpet at the VMAs. It hit, and then I just like picked it up and I was like, okay, and then like texted it to my boss and I was like, I hate my life. But it was fine. But yeah, so I have a whole list of like things that really grinded my gears for a decade, and so I would never commit any of those talent crimes.
Yeah.
Throwing shoes?
That's
Straight up threw the shoes. At the moment, and I just like, it hit me and just fell on the ground. And I'm looking at his shoe on the VMA's red carpet. I'm like, wow, like you rethink everything. I'm like, I have student loans for this, is this why?
Yeah.
But then you're also like, I have student loans. I need to just pick this up. There you go.
I was like, and pick up this shoe.
Yeah.
Okay, Sally. And I always just say, it's gonna make a good story. It's always gonna make a good story. Even though you're so stressed and you're so scared and you're so upset, and you're like, I can't do this, I don't wanna work here, I hate these people, I hate my boss, they're so mean to me. Like, just kind of like talk it like it's gonna make a good story one day, so.
You know what I think is a major red flag, Brian?
What's that?
A bank that doesn't support your ambitions.
That is the worst. But SoFi members don't really know how that feels because SoFi always has their back.
That's right. SoFi can help you reach all your ambitions all in one app with benefits like complimentary access to financial planners and highly competitive APY on savings balances. You might be closer to achieving your goals than you think. Sign up to become a member today at SoFi.com/richerlives. So you mentioned a nest egg, but you recently actually went through the process of getting your eggs frozen.
Yes.
Talk me through your thought process, thinking about how much that was going to cost. Why did you want to do that?
It's interesting. In my 30s, I feel like I've made a lot more sound decisions and planning, whether it be financial planning or then planning about my own life and dreams of motherhood and whatnot. And so similar to financially, you go back and forth. You're like, oh, I should save. I shouldn't do this. No, I should do it. I should save. I should not save. I should just see what happens. And I finally decided to just go ahead, do it, freeze my eggs. So I did that this winter, and I'm so relieved that I did. Again, similar. It's having that in the back, like knowing that it's there, I now feel calm. Knowing that I have, look, it's not a guarantee. They're just eggs. They're not, there's never a guarantee. You don't know until you start actually going down that route. But it's like made the world of a difference as far as my anxiety surrounding my age versus, fertility.
And you actually chose to do it across the pond over in London.
Yes, I did.
Why did you go to London?
Yeah, I did it in the UK. I went to doctors. I went to a couple doctors in New York, a couple in LA. And then I just had girlfriends who had such amazing experiences in Europe. The one that started it specifically, she went to Switzerland. So I was making all these funny jokes on the show about like, I'm going to freeze my eggs in Switzerland where rich people store their money. I'm going to store my most valuable asset. Mm-hmm. But then I realized I didn't have as many friends in Switzerland as I do in London. I have a massive network. It feels like New York there to me, feels like home. So I decided to do it there. So.
And what do you think was like the most surprising part of that process or unexpected part?
After the fact, the amount of people that, when I posted on Instagram, the amount of people that commented and reached out to me that commented about that they wanted to do it, had wanted to do it, but didn't because they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
That, I think that was really shocking to me. The other financial thing I realized, because again, gotta love my accountant, I hate him. But he had pointed out, because I was like, oh my God, I did all these savings, but he's like, yeah, but the flight over there. And then you also went on Amazon and ordered a body pillow and did this, and you could start getting acupuncture treatments every day. And he was like, so I think, again, you've got to be careful of these other things. We think in our mind a certain budget until you take a budget down and put it in an Excel spreadsheet, download your summary and actually line item things and make yourself look at it. You're really spending a lot on these little gotchas, that you don't equate in your mind. I'm like, oh, okay. I only think of the bigger ticket item. I never look at all these little ticket items that I'm doing. So it was like, I realized I spent a lot on ordering things to support this process, or spending services and things like that. I changed my whole eating routine. I changed all the cleaners in my house to organic things. I was eating much better. I was shopping at the expensive grocery stores and getting all the items from the expensive store. And so those costs added up.
Yeah, and I think from a planning perspective, when we're working with families doing this and people doing this, we encourage them to track their spending. So in our app, we have it, you link your accounts and it just automatically comes in there. Here's where it's going, a little pie chart and everything. And it's very helpful because especially if it's gonna be really tight financially to make this work.
Yeah. When I shared the story, I know that people actually didn't ask me anything, and I got literally tens of thousands of questions, and a lot of it was about, I would say 20% was about how much did it cost, and then asking for my advice on, I think some people can take out medical loans, or not necessarily medical loans, but personal loans or things like that. And I think it's just such an interesting discussion. I was fortunate to be able to, just, afford it, just pay out of pocket, I guess, per se. But it is, especially in the US, a big, that's the price of a car, so to do one round, and sometimes you need more than one round. So it's a massive expense. And I know that and a lot of people, I think, kind of struggle with these alternative ways and figuring out how to pay for it.
Ultimately, since we're talking about egg freezing, eventually, perhaps you want to become a mom. How are you thinking about balancing that with your really successful career?
I have a whole thing of, I feel like whatever happened with third wave feminism, where we all fought for exactly what, we want to be able to be in the workplace, and we want to work, and then we want to break the glass ceiling. I don't know what happened now in fourth wave, but I feel like women just ended up with two jobs. Where you have to, we fought for the work, but it's you get to do the job, then you have to go home and do another job. So it's like when you would, petition your boss because you get more responsibilities, but you don't get the pay raise. You're like, how do I just end up doing two people's jobs and I'm not getting paid more? So in theory it was a good idea, but I just don't see that society or nuclear families, I don't think we've supported and we've evolved, or no one is realizing this. So I hope to be, I don't know, I think it's gonna be really rough, and I don't know. Wow, honestly, I don't know. I really don't.
I mean, it's a super valid answer because did you know if a male and female partner both make the same amount of money, the woman still goes home and does 4 hours of extra work than the man does?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just looking at you, Brian, casually.
Listen, I'm not going to challenge the data source. I mean, we can't throw all guys under the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us do chores and everything.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's probably not. Sure, Jan. But I feel like, I think it's tough. I think we have to, it's like a family problem. It's a culture problem. It's a society problem. We're not allowing, there's not long enough maternal leaves and paternal leaves, and compared to countries, for example, in Western Europe, we don't have we're just not supporting family. We say, have kids, but nobody's supporting what we're promoting. So I personally, I always say though too, there's a little bit of a perk of waiting this long to have kids, because I don't feel like I have anything more to prove to myself with my career. I feel very confident that if there was no Housewives, no nothing, and I ended up being a single mom, I could tomorrow just start cranking out and doing business, and I feel confident in my own ability. So I hope to be able to have the luxury, which is an extreme luxury, to stay home with my kids, at least for the first year or two. And I really wish that every mother, father, especially single parents, were afforded that same luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be the standard, the norm.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting, just bring this up, because I will say, just experiencing it with my wife, I feel like women are almost between a rock and a hard place.
Yes.
Because on one hand, you continue working, and it is a lot of work, especially the first couple of years. No doubt my wife carried the bulk of the kids but then I also feel like there's a stigma now where, let's say you decide, hey, I want to leave the workforce for 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it may be. So it's kind of like a no-win situation.
It's a no-win. And I have young friends on that go both sides. Some are like, I just want to get back to work. Yep. This is not for me, and then others are like, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to put my 3-month-old into daycare. Yep. But I need to, because, we're a dual income, household. So I just wish in a perfect world, in a perfect economy, we would be able to, whatever your personal decision is, and whatever works out for you and your family and your guys' needs, financial needs, et cetera, they would be able to do that. It's hard.
It is. And you're definitely right about the kids being expensive. I think the challenge you'll have is, my best friend and I, we both kind of grew up with nothing. And then we're like, hey, we have money now. Yeah. We want to give to our kids. We cannot spoil these kids. So it's always a balancing act between how much do we give, how much do we withhold to teach them.
What will you do with them, as far as money regarding them? You're going to make them get a job? Are you going to,
So they're 4 and 6. They already have.
So they're going to get a job next month.
No, so we call it their jobs. Yeah. They do things around the house.
Oh, that's
so they have to earn. If they want any money, they have to earn it. We also let them sell their stuff. And then the other thing.
They're 4 and 6. Wait,
what stuff are they selling?
Are they on Poshmark? What's going on?
No, we sell it for them.
I got this new diaper,
no,
y'all.
but when they get number one before holidays, we tell them you have to donate a certain amount of your toys and clothes, because you're gonna get new stuff.
That's nice.
It keeps the clutter away.
Yeah.
And then also I'm like, hey, you need to learn how to give.
I always think too. I always try to imagine, when I have kids, what am I going to do with them as far, to teach them about money? Because I feel like my upbringing, while it was tough, it shaped every single corner and facet of who I am, and I want to instill that to them. So I just feel like, how do I show love to them and spoil them, and maybe project some of my own sentimentality onto them, but at the same time teach them the important lessons, so they don't have to make all mistakes that I've made and continue to make.
Ironically, this is one of my passion projects, because I'm like, hey, this is what I do for a living. I have kids. How do you teach kids about money? And it varies by age. So when they're young, we do all physical things. You can either buy that crappy $2 toy that I know is gonna break, or you can keep saving up your money, delay gratification. So it's little things when they're young, and then it gradually gets more, even Monopoly. So we play Monopoly all the time.
Really?
I take no prisoners. And
you don't let them win?
They're
what are they going to learn if they win?
Dad's
they're not going to learn the basics of, because Monopoly is actually a great game to learn about basic finances.
Yeah,
that's cool.
What are they going to learn if I let them win?
Okay.
And legit,
brutal.
I will say the number one way they learn about money is by imitation. So if you, parents who are crappy with their finances, their kids are most likely going to, so it's just a reflection.
It's a thing, and that's one thing that I've had to overcome because I was raised by an amazing single grandmother, but she was financially illiterate. And I was raised to feel scared of money, and bills would come in, we wouldn't open the bills and she didn't want to look at them. And each month when eventually she'd manage to sit down at the table to do her bills, which was like this ritual, but it was like a very painful ritual for her. But I remember having to sit at the table with her and like hold her hand and be like, no, it's okay, it's okay. Or if I had a birthday where I had gotten a little bit of money, I'd like, here's to pay the electric bill. Like it was very, never knew anything about anything regarding money. And so for me, it was like I had to, that exact, like probably statistic of what happens, I feel like I've had to spend so much of my life, not just learning, but overcoming that and then also learning at the same time. Because I think imitation is I think that's the best way the primary way that they learn, is seeing. It's tough.
Psst, come here. Can we ask you a personal question?
Like a really personal one.
Are there big milestones you've been putting off just because you don't have the funds to make them happen? Like updating that patio, going on that dream vacation, planning for a family or something more? Too personal? We don't think so, because SoFi is ready to help you with a personal loan.
Whatever your personal journey is, SoFi is there to help you reach those milestones. SoFi personal loans have low fixed rates to make those big milestones easier to achieve.
Not to mention, SoFi was voted the top personal loan of 2023 by NerdWallet. View your rate today at SoFi.com. So Brynn, you climbed the corporate ladder to become a very senior person at a PR agency, but then you said, forget it, I'm gonna start an independent consulting firm. How do you feel like you were able to make that transition, and has reality TV also helped propel that?
So for me, I was like, okay, I feel really confident about what I've achieved. I was on the executive team at a PR agency, and I was like, it's time for me to do my own thing. And it was really scary at first. And it's really scary when you first start consulting, because in theory, it's great, but then in practicality, you're like waiting for your first client. You're nervous, like, can I really do this? And oh my God, I'm not getting paid on the 15th and 30th, what's happening? But then once you get that first client, it's crazy, and it just started snowballing. And I thought I would just be consulting, and pretty soon people would hear, an old client and someone else that moved to another agency, we need this. Pretty soon it started from just having a couple consulting hourly gigs to more and more clients. And before I knew it, I was like, I'm having, billings of like, in the tens of thousands each month. Yeah. I need help. Yeah. So it went from, I need like a little bit of a help or an assistant, to then like I actually had like proper employees. That was kind of my trajectory. It was
now, did you like prep ahead of transitioning? Did you say, okay, I need to do this financially or this in my portfolio before you made that leap?
I think I was I was like 29 or 30 at the time. And honestly, this was 2012. I feel like around that, this was like Shark Tank was really popping off. And I feel like everyone was like having a startup and doing something, and I'm the CEO or like founder of, and it was cool to be able to say, you can call yourself a founder and make a business card. I remember I went on moo.com, I made business cards, and I got, made a domain, set up a website. You can become like a founder of anything.
Just decide.
Or even nothing. Yeah, you're just like, I'm the founder. Yeah. But once it's crazy, you create it, and then it actually exists. You get the LLC, you get business cards, you set up the website, you get a WeWork space, and you have a business. And I think for me, that was exhilarating. I think it was a little bit of an ego thing. Like a lot of my friends were starting, more like small companies and things like that. And I wanted to be in this like, this group of like people are like, oh yeah, I founded a small agency, blah, blah, blah. Like, it felt cool to say. Little do they tell you, just because you watch a bunch of episodes of Shark Tank does not mean you know how to run a business, hats off to small business owners. I think it's the most difficult thing. It's very, very difficult. But yeah, that was it naturally happened. So.
And when you decided to go into PR as your thing, I gotta ask, like financially, I think it's pretty well known that like publicists, until they start really racking up a bunch of clients on their roster, they don't typically make a ton of money as, assistants or starting out at the company. How did you mentally plan for that so that you could budget and have the life you also wanted?
Yeah, so it was hard starting out because I paid my way through college. I paid my way, I worked 2 jobs, and then also had financial aid and scholarships and student loans. So my first job with Edelman, I was making $29,000 a year. After taxes, that was $900 per paycheck. And it's like one check just fully went to rent, and then the other check was like what I had to live in. I couldn't afford a car, and you need a car in LA, as you know. So I'd walk to the Trader Joe's on La Brea, get my little groceries, and then like walk with the bags back all the way to my apartment. And then one time the bag like broke, and I was like eating the Trader Joe's waffles that were like half defrosted. But I remember like during that time, but it was from that job that then when I left that job, the experience I got with that job and working on Shell Oil and things like that, that was then that I applied. I went from an assistant account executive, which is like the lowest level in PR, agency life. I applied for a managerial role. And the reason why I got the managerial role is because I had such that low-level position on a huge account, but the name recognition of it and the project that I worked on, and it was a crisis communications team on one of the biggest crises in the oil industry in history. That was kind of the jump, because I knew in PR, if you stay, it's just like you get the 6% or 5% increase each year, and then you just go assistant account executive, senior. You know, it would take 12 years to become an SVP.
Yeah.
So I was able to move up a lot quicker because I kind of zigzagged. Not that I'm recommending that. I feel like all these like Gen Z TikTokers are like, yeah, that's why I only stay for like a year. Don't do that. That looks really bad on your resume. But if you can do it in a way that works for you or for me, I needed to, because I needed to support myself financially, so.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was Forbes who did a study that actually showed if you stay at a job for longer than 2 years, over the course of your lifetime, you make 50% less.
Oh, really?
Half as much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I think businesses need to like realize that and then do something more and incentivize or provide some sort of supplementary package, compensation package to that in order to, to have that not happen. But yikes. I mean, okay, so it is right.
It's also kind of silly, right? Because it costs the business so much to replace you.
Yeah. That's another thing too that I always would keep in mind went for reviews and things. Like, even though you're scared, you have to think like, and I think I said once to one HR person, like, well, I know how much like turnover is going to cost. She's like, get out of here. We don't need you. You're a minion, but I was like, it's going to cost more to replace me. You may as well give me this, increase. I don't remember if it worked or not, but.
I mean, I love that boldness, because I think we all deserve to be demanding our worth and asking for more and getting compensated fairly. Because I'm sure even when you were making $29,000 a year, you were working round the clock.
I was working around the clock. 12-hour days. And because the office was like so much nicer and safer than my apartment. And they had like free snacks and like free Starbucks. And I would and I remember even took like, oh man, I get in trouble. I took like toilet roll and like paper towel. Because it was expensive. And the one at the 99-cent store is such bad quality.
It's like -1 ply.
Yes.
That should have been an item. Like save it or spend it. Toilet paper, you always have to spend it.
You have to.
Yes.
And even when I don't have it, and even when I didn't have money, I still had like, I was like, no, I'd rather just, accidentally take some paper products home.
And what do you think like the biggest mistake is that people make as they're trying to, let's say, advance in their career like you did?
Yeah.
Like what you did right, obviously, versus what they do wrong at times.
I think people don't know, and we need to teach this in college, or grade school even. We don't need Pythagorean's theorem. We need to teach people how to negotiate a salary. I never learned, and I didn't have a mom or dad to teach me. I didn't have any adult or parent or uncle or aunt or anyone to advise me on it. So it was really trial and error, a lot of error. And we have to learn how to negotiate a salary and advocate for yourself without being obnoxious, right?
Yeah.
Or because I remember my first job when I tried to negotiate that first salary, I remember actually it was my boss, and he was amazing, Chris Manzini. He was my mentor and still a very amazing mentor. And I remember when I was trying to talk to him, about the salary, he was the big group head. And he told me, he's like, you shouldn't be bringing up, because my whole case was based off of, I had all these charts and figures about LA cost of living and how the cost of living was inaccurate. And he was like, he's like, I'm not going to give it to you now because you're supposed to, and he was educating me. He's like, you're supposed to negotiate your worth and your value you bring to the team. So he's like, all of this is correct, that the cost of living and everything, it doesn't make sense, but that's not why you get a pay raise, So then that's when I learned, okay, you have to document everything and every win. And I had to learn the hard way that even my managers that liked me, everyone's doing their own job in life. And even if they love you, they're not advocating for you. Rarely have I met a manager. I tried to be that sort of manager, but I wasn't even that sort of manager. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to document everything, every win. You have to ascribe a value to it that makes sense for this person and for the business. And then, I think we need to, there's just so many different elements in how to negotiate. And even if you don't get the salary that you want, you can also, there's other things you can negotiate, more vacation days. There's more stock options. There's just a lot of ways that you can. And I wish that more people knew that, because it took me years of doing that in order to kind of learn to work it to my advantage.
So you credit your boss, Chris, for teaching you a lot of that negotiation, but there is some stuff that you can't necessarily teach, and that is confidence.
Yeah.
How did you have the confidence as such a young person to even ask? Because I think that's something I personally hear a lot of my BFFs run into. They're like, well, I'm just scared. I'm nervous.
Oh yeah. Well, you're gonna be scared, but I think that's actually what gave me the confidence, because I didn't have I wasn't afforded the luxury of being like, I'm too shy to ask for this.
Yeah.
It was like, I need this.
You're like, I need waffles.
I need waffles, and actually I need a car to go get the waffles. But no, for me it was I didn't have, it was, I took the fear, and the fear just gave me courage in the sense of like, look, at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen? They're gonna say no.
Yeah.
They're gonna say no,
yeah.
right? So I just needed it. So it was out of necessity for me, and that was kind of like the driving force, and somehow that necessity translated into confidence, essentially. But yeah, it was more so out of like pure necessity.
Brynn, we had an amazing time. Thank you so much for coming. I feel like we've learned so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Thank you.
Fun. Amazing. Thank you guys so much.
Brian, I learned so much during that conversation.
I know. Honestly, it was such an open conversation about important topics, whether it be, fighting for what you're worth in your career, talking about egg freezing and starting a family. Like, I feel like those are things that people don't talk about, but really should.
Well, that's all we have for this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And while you're at it, drop a comment below to tell us who you want to see us interview next.
See you next time.
Hi, it's me, Brian Walsh, aka Dr. Money, again to talk about some of the legal stuff. Though I am a certified financial planner professional, your finances are unique. That means anything I talked about today shouldn't be considered advice. Think of it more as high-level education or guidance.
And don't forget to subscribe.
I was like, I gave you little breasts. How much? I'm just gonna keep talking, keep everyone here until I get weird looks. Oh, that's real water?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's real. That's a wrap.